And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Tuesday, March 17th. Happy St. Patty's Day. I'm Dino Vidala, or as I'm not even kidding, when I was younger, people thought I was Irish and thought my name was Obadala. I even got a letter joking that said Sean Obadala, but I'm not Irish, but I hear virus or not, I am here to be your MBFF. If you don't have a Muslim best friend forever, I'm the one. I'm there. I'm on Twitter at Dino Vidala. Facebook.com/Dina Radio. Check out the monologue. Write some comments. And if you're watching there, you're not going to hear the clips we play, unfortunately. We're going to try to work on that for the future. So, folks, I know days, but think about this. 2 weeks. It's just 15 days, and this all ends. At least that's what Trump told us on February 10th. Let's hear clip number one as he told us that. That's it, folks. Just hang on, everyone. Just shelter in place, 14 days, 15. April 1st, the sun will shine, the virus will die because the heat. Donald Trump said at his press conference that I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic because Donald Trump knew it was a pandemic. He knew in advance. Now, here's the problem. It's one of two scenarios. One is, the first time he was asked about this on January 22nd on CNBC, he was asked point blank, do you think that this was a pandemic? And let me remind you what he said to give you scenario one and scenario two, and you tell me which is worse. Here's scenario one, clip number 12, asked about, do you think this will be a pandemic? January 22nd asked, will it be a pandemic? Nope, definitely not. Totally under control. Today he says, I felt a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic. One of two scenarios. One is Donald Trump was just incompetent, knew nothing, and just said whatever he did to Joe Kernan. Or two, the more sinister scenario, he really did know this was going to be a pandemic. He believed it was a pandemic and just continued to lie to the American people, saying things like it's the Democrats' new hoax and saying it's okay to go to rallies and the heat's going to end in April. You pick which one. Was he lying, or is he incompetent, or is he just sinister? Scenarios play well for Donald Trump, because if he really did know it was a pandemic, that meant he affirmatively lied to the American people. And if he didn't know it was a pandemic and just lied today, just shows he was incompetent. Either scenario, we have an understanding why a new NPR Marist poll that came out today asked Americans, you can answer at home, Americans either have a good amount or a great deal of trust in Donald Trump and the information they get from him about the coronavirus. What percentage of Americans do you think have a good trust in Donald Trump's information he gives them on the coronavirus? The answer is 37%. 50% say they have not very much. That 37%, if you trust what Trump is saying, contact me. I've got my unicorn ranch I want to sell. I got some shares in it. It's amazing. I got beachfront property in Nebraska I'm looking to sell. You know, the worst part of Trump misleading people is that polls actually show of Democrats and a solid majority of independents thought this virus in the last few weeks was serious. We're concerned about it. We're worried about the planning. Yet of Republicans, it was below 50% or slightly above in poll after poll, meaning Donald Trump misled you. If you're a Trumper, he lied to you. He's either incompetent, or if you take him at his word today, he knew it was a pandemic and just lied to you over and over and over. And here's the thing, Trumpers, I don't care if you support him or not, but if you follow his advice on a pandemic, on a disease, a deadly virus, you are doing so at you and your family's peril. It is your choice to believe him. I'm not going to try to convince you he's a liar. If you don't know that by now, nothing. But just when it comes to health stuff, really, really question it. For your own health, for your family's health, it's just not worth it. So here we are. We've got people on the media saying we're at war. We have experts saying we're at war with a virus. And I believe that on some level. What is going on now seems like a war footing. And here's the reality. It means we're going into war with a president who's a serial liar, who's a bigot who keeps calling COVID-19 the Chinese virus, to give red meat to his base, whose only concern his entire life is what is good for Donald Trump. That's the guy leading us. What could go wrong? I mean, it's the greatest scenario ever. A selfish, bigot, serial liar leading the charge. Oh my God, just like FDR, right? No, not at all. In fact, today, here was just another sign that I don't care Donald Trump. And people in the media are like, oh, he pivoted. Yesterday, he said something serious. And today, his tone was right. Let's forgive him for everything he said in the past. Let's forget. At the same time, he's doing the same old Trump. Today, the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, was on MSNBC. Donald Trump, instead of doing his job, was watching her, got very upset. And listen, I want to play the clip of what upset him. She did not slam Donald Trump personally. She didn't make fun of Ivanka Trump. She didn't talk about the Republican Party. She talked about her concerns of the people of Michigan and how the federal government is not cutting the red tape. And right before this, the question is about ventilators. You don't have enough ventilators. What are you going to do? And here's her answer. And it's nothing to do with Trump or Republicans. It has to do with red tape, preventing getting ventilators they need desperately as cases build in Michigan. Here's clip number 2, please. So there she is. She's not saying Trump failed us. She didn't mention Trump. But Trump was upset because he wants complete loyalty from everyone, including Democratic governors, when he's failing them. So he tweets, failing Michigan governor must work harder and be much more proactive. We are pushing her to get the job done. I stand with Michigan. Unbelievable. And then today at the press conference, Trump was asked about this. Why, you say no partisanship. Let's not do politics. Yet you are doing that very thing. You are being political. And here's Donald Trump's answer to it. Here's clip number 3, please. Donald Trump, in the middle of a coronavirus outbreak, people are sheltering at home, schools are closed, and Donald Trump makes himself the victim. It's unfair to me. I've got me. They've got the whole media. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has Fox News and Newsmax and Breitbart and all the list goes on. But that doesn't matter. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor, did not criticize Donald Trump. She talked about the needs of the people of her state. That's not politics. That's what a public servant does. But Trump can't take it. So let's talk about some substantive things from today's press conference. Steve Mnuchin, Secretary of Treasury, talked about, and I'll play the clip, they're trying to get direct money to people. Remember Andrew Yang talking about universal basic income? Well, apparently the Trump team is on board. In fact, just to be clear, the proposal to give universal basic income or one-time payment to people did not come from the Trump administration. That was from members of Congress. Mitt Romney was saying that, and Democrats. The Trump administration just happened to like it and are going to do it. Here's Steve Mnuchin on that very issue. Clip number 4, please. I think it's interesting, though, if you hear the last part of that. I'm going to go talk to the Republicans first. Yeah, we're not going to have partisanship. We're going to go to the GOP first, as opposed to a bipartisan congressional leadership that you would have in a time of war. Now, we don't know the exact amount. They're talking about $1,000 perhaps for each adult. We don't know for sure. As soon as I find out, I'll bring it to you. We'll see if it passes Congress. Later in the show, Congressman Joe Kennedy is coming on the show. He has proposed $4,000 for every adult who's making under $100,000 and $2,000 for adults who make over $100,000. And talk about the health issues, and I want to play this Dr. Anthony Fauci today. This is a really vitally important point. And this should go through the mind of everybody, especially those who are not vulnerable, especially those who are younger, especially those who are in good health. I think, what does it matter if I go out and do my normal life to almost daily life it's normal, or I'm working from home, I just make it like it's a Sunday and I'll go to all the stores I usually do and go to the restaurant and everything. Here is Dr. Fauci making the point about we're all in this together, and that if you're younger or you're not vulnerable, you are risking the lives of others. Here's clip number 5, please. And that's a great point. In fact, here is something, and I don't mean it to be alarming, but you should know the facts. A 21-year-old soccer coach in Europe died today from the coronavirus. You're like, well, he's 21. He was a soccer coach. He's probably in great shape. Well, he was. What happened was he had an underlying condition that he didn't know about. Turns out he had leukemia. Nobody knew it. He didn't know it. He got coronavirus and succumbed to it, and they found out after he passed it because he had leukemia. So there are underlying conditions that younger and healthy people have that you don't even know you have because you're asymptomatic. You've never been treated. This virus finds it. This virus finds your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities and uses it against you. That's what happens. So you're not immune at 21. You might have an underlying condition. I hope you don't. An unknown underlying condition, I should say. But the point of Dr. Fauci is also a point that, if you remember, Max Brooks was on the show Friday, and his father is Mel Brooks. They made a great video that I really encourage you to look at online if you haven't seen. I'll play it now. The audio doesn't do it justice because you don't see Mel Brooks there. It's Max Brooks, who's 47, with his dad, Mel Brooks, the comedy legend, an icon. And I'll just set it up for you so you have an idea. And Max is standing in front of his dad's house, and his dad's behind him in the house behind a glass door, full glass door. And so Max is telling this stuff, and his dad's reacting, not over the top, but still it's really funny. And you hear Mel Brooks' voice near the end. And it was just what the doctor ordered. It was a combination of humor and facts. And I just want to play it. And again, I really encourage you to watch it online, not now, after the show. And so you can really take it in. But here's clip number 6. It's very funny. He says, go home. If you see him, you'd laugh. It's very funny. He's got great timing. Don't be a spreader. Do your part. And that's the point right here. You know, I've been friends with Max for years, and I emailed him about it and asked him, why did you come up with this? And he said, I wanted to do something with my dad to illustrate the importance of social distancing. And the Brooks family there was not just giving us a lesson on the facts, not just using humor, but reaffirming the sense that we are all in this together. Doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Trump lover, Trump hater, we are all in this together. And each of us is going to play a role in reducing the spread of this virus and in turn saving lives. That means putting partisanship to the side, even in these hyper-polarized times, on this issue. Now, that does not mean, I want to be clear, as opposed to some anchors on CNN and MSNBC, it doesn't mean we're going to forget what Donald Trump did. It does not mean we're going to not call out when he's making fundamental errors or lying like he did today and calling out his incompetence. You know, Donald Trump calling this a hoax just 3 weeks ago because the Democrats were talking about it was criminally incompetent. To me, it rises to the letter of manslaughter. And we're not going to forget, just 10 days ago, Donald Trump defending the idea of doing rallies. In fact, here's Donald Trump on March 6th at the Center for Disease Control, asked about rallies because Dr. Fauci, days before, said don't do rallies. And Biden and Bernie Sanders already had canceled their rallies. And listen to Trump just 10 days ago, folks, just 10 days ago, undermining the experts. Here's clip number 7. So there was Donald Trump. Doesn't bother him. Donald Trump undermining experts just 10 days ago. Just 10 days ago. And this is where we are. Good people misled. If the president was showing leadership like he should have, perhaps governors and mayors in other cities would have acted even quicker. But instead you're having this partisanship on a disease, which Donald Trump did on purpose, folks. That's how he insulates himself from losing his base. He did the same thing with Ukraine, and he did it with impeachment. He thought he could do it here. This is life and death. And here we are. And of course, we're going to continue to call out Donald Trump's failure to use the World Health Organization test for weeks, which allowed this disease to spread. Infected people didn't know they were sick. That's not spin. That's not partisan. That's the facts. There's no disputing that. And still to this day, they have not answered why for weeks they didn't use it. But there's going to be a time for a full investigation and maybe even criminal charges when this is over. But between now and then, our fate is literally intertwined with each other. And that's not a talking point. The truth is, people like Dr. Fauci have made it clear, our well-being and even our lives for those who have elevated health risks are in each other's hands. So we've got to play this role. You can save someone's life by washing your hands, by not going out unless you have to, about making sure people are cared for and have their food's another thing. A loved one like my mom, we're sending her food and delivery there, and she's a full-time aide living there, and they're not going out at all. But let me ask you, what's your reaction to what we're seeing some in the media now? In fact, Dana Bash today on CNN saying Donald Trump's hitting to write notes now. He's really giving the leadership we need right now, as if what happened the last 2 months isn't relevant. Do you have more confidence in Donald Trump today? Do you trust him more today because the last 2 days? Also, again, I'd love to hear from people. What are they doing? What are you seeing where you live in terms of people self-quarantining? Are they self-quarantining? Are the streets empty, or is it business as usual? And where you live, there's so few cases. And what's really scary, the fact you don't know about more cases is because we have not got the widespread testing. And maybe you're lucky. Maybe you live in a community where we'll never have an explosion of testing, of actually infections, which would be great. Today, the governor of New York, experts said it probably go for 45 days before we hit the virus outbreak peak. That's an estimation. A lot of that depends on us. Are you going to social distance? Are you going to stay inside? Because if not, you can inadvertently spread this disease to others, and this will continue and continue and continue. So share with us what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what's going on where you live. How has your life changed? People email me about financial challenges that are posed by this. I'd love you to call and share that with people so people can hear what's going on. We are in all this together. This is a war. And we're still going to call out the factual lies of Donald Trump. There's no passes. I will never give him one. They didn't give President Obama any in 2014 when he was effectively fighting Ebola. I'm not being vindictive. I'm saying they were being blindly partisan. We'll focus on facts because the facts can save people's lives. I'd love to hear from you. You're my guest right to the top of the hour. 866-997-4748. We got some great guests coming up. By the way, Congressman Ted Lieu coming up. We have Danny Savalas joining us for Law and Disorder. We're going to talk about can Donald Trump legally suspend the November election, that and more, and then Congressman Joe Kennedy as well. Be right back, but right now, you're my guest, 866-997-4748. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on the Dean Obey Donald Show.